Hey, what's up? Welcome back to True Crime Unraveled. What I want to discuss tonight is the West Memphis 3. Now, there's been some new breakthroughs in DNA technology, and now they're going to retest some of the DNA that they took off the bodies of the two young victims that Damien Eccles, Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly were accused of killing back in 1993. And the only reason why these three were blamed was because the town saw them as misfits and oddballs because they dressed in black, they listened to heavy metal, and back in the early 90s you had what was called satanic panic going on. And they thought that these killings were some type of ritualistic satanic killing, which it wasn't. And three innocent teenagers went to prison back in 1993. Eccles, Miskelly, and Baldwin. Damien, he was sentenced to death. And then you had Miskelly and Baldwin, who were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, you had three young boys who were arrested, tried, and convicted, and they were all three innocent. They were wrongfully arrested, wrongfully tried, and wrongfully convicted. And Miskelly was actually incompetent to stand trial because he didn't know what was going on, because he had the mentality of a 4-year-old, and the detectives coerced a confession out of him, knowing, mind you, knowing that he didn't know what was going on. There's a lot of twists and turns in this case, and the judge was corrupt, the prosecutor was corrupt. The judge was collaborating with the prosecutor was going up and visiting one of the boys behind the back of his defense attorney. So what does that tell you? And then back in the 90s, Paradise Lost, which was a documentary at the time, excellent Metallica song in it, Fade to Black. Love that song. You had all the parents at the time of the murders of these three boys. They all thought that these three did it. They all thought that they did it. But when the West Memphis 3 was released from prison in 2011, all the parents kind of changed their tune a little bit. And the dad of one of the slain boys, his last name is Byers, he actually went to bat for Eccles, Miskelly, and Baldwin. He went to bat for them. He said, "These three did not kill my boy. This is utter BS. They did not kill my boy." That was a very powerful moment when the father of one of the victims actually said that the three that he thought did it actually didn't do it. So here's the question for you, my viewers. If they didn't do it, who did? Who killed these three boys? Now, one of the stepfathers, which he was later cleared, his hair was found on his stepson, who was one of the victims. at the scene. But yet, the police wouldn't really look at him. I mean, they questioned him. They asked him like three questions, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, you can go. Godspeed. We have our patsies." That's what I think is a total um, mind job. Is that you have three people who are innocent, and they're the patsies, and you have, of course, Brian, who's going through the same thing with a corrupt system there in Idaho. There was a corrupt system down there in West Memphis, Arkansas. So now it's 30 years apart, okay? It's 30 years apart. But don't you see kind of a correlation here as far as the judicial system goes? You have a corrupt judge and a corrupt prosecutor. I mean, hell, I could even say the Delphi case is a direct correlation, yeah, judicial wise. You had a corrupt judge there in Delphi. You had a corrupt prosecutor. The judge in Delphi, Judge Gall, closed the hearing, closed the trial, closed the sentencing to where Richard Allen was sentenced to 130 years in the dark. You had Damien Eccles, who was an innocent person, sentenced to death. You had the other two, Miss Kelly and Baldwin, sentenced to life without parole. They lost, guys. They lost 30 years of their life. 30 years. 20 in prison, and then the other 10 fighting to be exonerated. Now, if we remember, I don't know if this is what Brian said, but I can't wait to be exonerated. And yes, he did say that. I can't wait to be exonerated. But what's the shaky part was all the rumors when he supposedly said, "Was there anybody else arrested?" Which I don't believe he said. But you have a correlation judicial-wise between West Memphis, Delphi, and Idaho. And I'm so happy that Damien Eccles, uh, Jesse Miss Kelly, and Baldwin are actually doing really good now. Now that they're not locked up. The last thing I knew, I saw an interview that Damien did. He said he was asked what it was like getting out of prison after 20 years, and he stated when he went in, he was 16. When he went in, uh, the only computer he knew of was the big computers that looked like the monitor looked like a cinder block. You know, the big square. He said, and only rich people own them. He said it took him time to adjust to what a cell phone was, to what a tablet was, a debit card, money. He said it felt weird when he handled the money because he's never handled money before. And I mean, it just Miss Kelly, Jesse Miss Kelly. It really makes me mad to the point that you have someone clearly not cognitively able to stand trial. They said he was incompetent to stand trial. But yet, you have a corrupt detective getting a confession out of him, knowing that this boy didn't know what was going on, didn't know what a prosecutor was, didn't know what a judge was, um, didn't know what a defense attorney was, because of his mentality. He was basically the mentality of a 4-year-old. So what a 4-year-old knows what a judge is, what a prosecutor is, what a defense attorney is, and what a courtroom is. I don't think any 4-year-old actually comprehends what's going on. Just like Jesse Miskelly, he didn't comprehend what was going on, and the police there in West Memphis used that to their advantage to get a false confession out of him, knowing that he was incompetent to stand trial. And you had the prosecutor going and visiting behind his attorney's back one of the defendants, and you had the judge who was collaborating with the prosecutor, because the judge thought these boys did it when he actually knew that they didn't. And then what was with, after these boys, now men, mind you, now men, got out of prison in 2011 after striking some kind of plea deal that the prosecutor came up with. How are you going to destroy the evidence in this case after the West Memphis 3 was released from prison? You want to turn around and you want to destroy the evidence in the court records. If that isn't corrupt as hell, I don't know what is, guys. I really don't. That's corrupt to the core, to destroy the evidence, or at least attempt to destroy the evidence. But with the breakthroughs that we have now with DNA testing, they are now able to test the DNA on the boys' clothes, on the shoestring that they were hogtied with. But that goes back to my question, guys, to you, my viewers. If Damien, Miss Kelly, and Baldwin didn't kill these 3 boys, who did? Could it have been a drifter? Could it have been a long-haul truck driver who was a serial killer? Because back in the early 90s, you did have a lot of serial killers active, and quite a few of them were long-haul truck drivers. You had Robert Ben Rhodes. You had James Cruz. Those are the 2 biggest long-haul truck driver serial killers that there was back then. So it could have been one of them. Now I know that James Cruz, he went to prison for the killing of a young girl up there in Maryland. But yeah, I pray every night for the West Memphis 3 that they're doing good, that they get exonerated, and I do believe that they are on the verge of being exonerated and vindicated. Y'all have a good Monday. It is 10 degrees here in the town I live in. I'm glad I'm warm inside. But have a good night, and this is True Crime Unraveled, and I'm out. Peace. And hey, leave a comment down in the comment section with your thoughts and your theories on this case. If you like this video, go ahead and leave me a like. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more new content coming out. Y'all have a good night.